Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Leah Zveglich with us today. Leah is founder and CEO at Astro Coop, which is a family office. So we're going to talk about family offices. We're going to talk about co-ops, legacy building, social enterprises, and wealth preservation. This pod is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast, scale it the unconventional way, you can go to podpire.com. Leah, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you for having me here today. My name is Leah Zich. As you mentioned, I'm a CEO of Astro Coop. And what I do and what we do is we work with successful entrepreneurs and we help them to continue to grow their business, build a legacy, and preserve the wealth. And it's in a way something that we all know that we need to do, but you'll be surprised how many people fail to do it. And of course, there are many reasons. And I can share some of the experience that I had with entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, let's start with your career because you're Harvard educated, studied there in the 90s, occupied various positions. Were the president and CEO of Astro International in 95. So if you could give us the highlights of your career and how you got there today, that'd be quite helpful.
Okay, well, I consider myself an accidental entrepreneur because when I was growing up, I was educated and trained to be a classical musician. So being an entrepreneur was never in my radar. And just by accident, I ended up attending a youth conference, and as a part of youth initiative, I studied a business which became, again, just by coincidence, very successful. So then from a musician, then people no longer associated me with music, but they saw me as an entrepreneur. So then other entrepreneurs come ask me for project. So that's how it got started. So it wasn't like intended journey of my life, but I feel that sometimes unexpected twists and turns in your life actually get you what you are meant to do.
Right. And you said very successful. So, when that happens, yes, there is luck, but there's also stuff that you control that made these business hyper successful. So, in your opinion, why did that business of yours grow so fast, so quickly?
Well, I guess for the principle is the same today. You need to identify market segment where there's a demand, but that demand is not being met. So anywhere you go, keep your eyes wide open and pay attention to what's happening, then you can always identify opportunities.
Right. So you identified the opportunities, you executed on it. When was your first foray into anything that had to do with family offices?
Well, that was, again, getting into family office or family business area. It wasn't that I planned as my career saying, oh, I'd like to be working with family businesses or family offices. It just happened naturally that I was happy being a CEO. Then I became mother. Then I realized that being a startup CEO and sleeping in the office, working 20 hours a day, it's not something that you can do parallel while raising a child. And it was my personal decision that I decided not to raise my kids hiring nannies. I wanted to do everything that typical mothers do. So then I had to find alternative career, and this advisory work, working with family businesses, was a good, smooth transition that allowed me to be mother, but at the same time, I can use all my skills of entrepreneurship and organizational behavior. So it became very interesting work.
And you're co-founder in Aster with, I believe, Tarek. So how did you meet your co-founder?
Oh, again, through the network. that, people who share the same values, then you talk and you start working together. And actually, I am very thankful for all those people who work with me, including clients, because over time, through intensive interactions, they become kind of like your extended family / friends, even though initially the relationship started as business.
Right. So what's the thesis currently of your family office? How do you invest the money? It seems that there's a social angle to it as well. Tell me how you're different.
Okay, so I'd like to firstly bust myth about the family office. Currently, there's so much buzz about family office, and a lot of people use family office as a source for raising fund if you're a startup entrepreneur or if you're running a venture fund. However, I believe that most important aspect of family office is not necessarily investing, but creating the family continuity plan. Meaning, okay, I studied the business and yes, I'm a successful founder, but how do I ensure that continues into the multiple generations? Because, being a strong, successful founder makes it difficult to encourage the next generation to step up. Because as you know, under a big tree, none of the big trees grow because the big tree makes such big shadow that, only little trees grow. And that happens very often with successful entrepreneurs. The first generation was successful, but because he was so successful and have very strong personality, it makes it difficult for the second generation to step up and meet the expectations. So the most important work that we pay attention is succession planning, developing the next generation, and then really educating all family members to be active owners. Because having wealth, it doesn't mean that you always have to do everything by yourself, because you can hire the best people. But at least you need to know enough to at least differentiate who are the good people that I should work with, and also should be able to make a decision, because in the end, it's your family wealth and it's your legacy. So you should know enough to make the right decision when advisors give you a recommendation.
You're often speaking about social events as well, like the COP28. You speak often about slavery on your LinkedIn. So how do you make sure to invest in causes that are socially good for humanity as well?
Okay, well, I think this is kind of old principle that when you make money, actually you made money from the society or communities that you are operating. So it makes sense that you don't try to extract wealth from your community, but you try to work with them in harmony. And there are still some people who believe that the only way you can make money is by squeezing other people. But globally, there's like B corporation movement, social enterprise movement. There's a lot of initiative that prove that actually in the long term, it's more beneficial and you actually have a higher profit margin if you work in harmony with the communities around you, including employees, instead of always trying to find ways to squeeze the compensation. If you really develop and motivate, encourage them, include them as a part of your community, including your customers and in a bigger sense, your whole communities. So that's something that I encourage all my families that I work with, that see this as a long-term multi-generational business, not a short-term business that I want to make and grow business as quickly as possible, sell it off and get out. Because businesses do contribute a lot. They create jobs and give people opportunities, and it develops people. So that's the strong belief that I have.
What about the cooperative aspect of the family office that you're running? Tell me a bit more about that.
Okay, well, the cooperative is structure that's been around for a very long time, but most of people associate co-op with like farmers co-op, the credit unions and things like that. But actually, you can set up family office under a co-op structure, which is really more empowering and beneficial for the whole family members, because instead of one person dictating all the decisions in co-op, everyone who is a member. So if you set a family office as a co-op structure, then all the family members are a member, which they can vote on all the key decisions. So it's a very empowering structure. I am a lot more excited about this co-op structure than the old structure of holding company structure, because holding company structure is only for the financial reasons. And also the trust structure is in current environment where you can pick jurisdictions everywhere and there's a lot more structures. It's very outdated, very expensive, inflexible structure. And also trust structure is not supposed to last for like multiple generations, which family offices are supposed to do. So it's okay to have a portion of wealth in trust structure, but I find that currently the co-op structure is highly efficient. There's a lot of tax benefits, and most importantly, it empowers the family members.
What would be your objectives for this year as the CEO?
Oh, so this year, I am currently, the family office is a lot more prevalent in the US, but there's also a lot of new wealth generated in Latin America and Africa, where they also need a lot of support to ensure that the wealth and business operate into multi-generations. And in these economies, family businesses play far more important role than in the US, because proportion of family-owned business is much larger. So that's the initiative that I'm working on. And then as usual, we pay a lot of attention to developing the next generation. And during the COVID, we had to stop our summer program. So we'll be studying the summer program for the younger generations again. And those are the key initiatives that I have in mind.
What markets in the world are you bullish about, whether that's an industry or a geography, for example, Saudi? So what is getting your attention in terms of investments?
I find that currently kind of the typical investment that everybody does, well, we can still continue like typical asset allocation in the US and Europe, but currently we found that Korea is kind of a rising technology hub. There's lots of opportunities there. And then also there's a lot of opportunities in the Middle East and Africa, as well as Latin America, all those emerging economies. The only challenges in this market is the way they do business is very different than in the US, that a lot depends on your relationship. So it takes a little bit of time to penetrate the market, but there are a lot of opportunities there.
Where can people find out more about you, Leah?
They can go to my website, AsterCoop.com, and then you will have all the contact information and all the other information about how we manage our family office and provide the succession planning to entrepreneurs and their family members, and all the other impact initiative, it's all there.